Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics. A while back, we compared the hang on the back filter to a sponge filter. We got some requests to do a canister filter as well, so that's what we're going to do today. We're actually going to compare a hang on the back filter with a canister filter and see which one comes out on top, so stay tuned. Okay, so when it comes to hang on the back filters, we'd mentioned this before in the previous video that we did comparing filters, but I just wanted to go ahead and take a quick look once again at this filter. We put media in the back, and so this rests on the back of a tank. The water goes through this intake, water goes through the back where there will be some filter floss or maybe some bio balls, and then it comes out the front. It's pretty simple. All right, and so again, one of the advantages of these filters is that they are relatively low cost. They don't make a ton of noise, and they're pretty easy to maintain. And so those are some great features about hang on the back filters. The other thing I like about them is they tend to be pretty reliable. So we haven't had too many issues with any of our hang on the back filters. We plug them in and they just run. Another advantage of a hang on the back filter when we compare it to a canister filter is there's almost no risk of flooding your floor. All right, if a hang on the back filter, if it goes down, usually the water just stops flowing, but it stays contained in the tank and in the filter. Now, some disadvantages of hang on the back filters is they can be a little bit noisy, once again, depending on the brand that you purchase. Okay, so now let's take a look at a canister filter. Now, I've got a relatively small canister filter here, just makes it easier for demonstration purposes. And so here what we have, this is actually, believe it or not, a hang on the back canister filter. But one of the advantages of canister filters in general is usually they go under a tank, not on the back of the tank. And because of that, you can move a tank closer to the wall because you don't have this large, bulky hang on the back filter in between the wall and the tank. And so you can move it closer to the wall. Also, that makes the entire filtration system less visible when you're using a canister filter. So I think those are two definite advantages. Another advantage with a canister filter is usually the intake and the outtake are a little bit further apart. And so you can actually put them on opposite sides of the tank. That creates a lot more water flow. So with a hang on the back, it just dumps in through the back of the tank, and it kind of water flows from front to back in that area where that hang on the back filter is. But on a canister filter, you can actually get the flow to go side to side, and so that will relieve some of the dead spots that you might find in your filtration. All right, so let's take a look at how this thing works. Now, canister filters, they've got a top that kind of seals to the bottom part here, and the bottom part is where your media is going to go. And you can see here, there's a lot of space in this little filter for media. And so in this particular filter, we've got some bio ball sort of material, and there's lots of surface area here for bacteria to grow. We have a whole nother side. Usually this is where I put filter floss, but you could put lots of other things here. Again, this whole thing is surface area for bacteria to grow. And I would say this is another advantage of canister filters. Often there's going to be more surface area in a canister filter for beneficial microbes compared to a hang on the back. Another advantage is it might be a little bit easier with a canister filter to use different types of media. So again, here we've got some bioball material. We can use filter floss, you can use carbon. You can put this stuff in a filter media bag, so it's not just kind of loose in here, so it makes it a little bit easier to maintain the filter. I think one of the primary advantages to canister filters is how quiet they are. Even the small filter that I just showed you makes zero noise. And we have a tank in our living room, and I don't want to hear water running. I don't want to hear filtration running. And it's really awesome at making just about zero noise in the living room, which is pretty cool. For some larger canister filters, it might be possible to hook up an inline UV light. And so that's an advantage, something that would be a lot harder to do on a hang on the back filter, although not impossible. It really does lend itself, the canister filter really does lend itself well to having an inline UV light sterilizer. Okay, so what are some disadvantages of a canister filter? Well, I think one thing is this top and this bottom, they do have to seal tightly together. And if they don't seal tightly, water can leak. Another thing is maintenance. Even this small canister filter, I hate maintaining that thing. I just dread it. And so what some people do is when they really don't want to do filter maintenance on one of their filters, they just don't do it. Now, I happen to struggle through and do it anyway, but it's definitely not something I enjoy, where you get a sponge filter, you just squeeze it out. Hang on the back, you just pull the media out. It takes 2 seconds. Canister filter, you got to undo all the hoses. You have to unseal it. You have to break it down. You have to pull the media out. and then put it back in. Now some canister filters make that job a lot easier. It's just not nearly as easy as a hang on the back filter. Another major downside, cost. Canister filters, for that additional flow, for the additional surface area, for the quietness that it has, you're going to pay money for that. And so you can easily spend $300, $400, $500 on a canister filter, and that can get expensive. Now, another disadvantage may be if a hose goes on a canister filter or a seal breaks, you could have water on the ground. Now, again, it's not a guarantee that's going to happen. It's unusual that that would happen, but with a hang on the back filter, it's really not going to happen. So if a hang on the back filter has issues, again, 99 times out of 100, the water is going to stay contained in either the filter or the tank and not on the floor. With a canister filter, because that canister filter is often under the tank, if a problem happens with a seal, you might wind up with water somewhere else. Now, both of them share one inherent problem, and that is if the power goes out, they may not restart when the power comes back on. All right, so which one do I prefer? Well, I prefer sponge filters, and that's what we have in almost all of our tanks in our fish room because of cost and because of ease of maintenance. If I had to choose between a hang on the back and a canister filter, that's a tough choice. I think it depends upon, again, the needs that you have for your tank. If this is a tank that's going to be in a living room or a bedroom, I want as quiet a filter as I can possibly have, so a canister filter would be the way to go for me. If it's just a tank that's with a lot of other tanks, maybe in a basement or in a room that's not going to be an area where there's going to be a lot of conversation or it's not going to be a quiet area, hang on the back filter might be a little bit easier. Also, the larger the tank, the more sense it makes probably to have a canister filter on that tank. So if you've got, maybe a 90 gallon, 125, 150 and above, canister filters are going to get you a lot more flow, have a lot more power, have a lot more surface area, and it's probably going to make more sense than trying to put on 2 or 3 hang on the back filters along the back of that tank. So those are just some thoughts when it comes to hang on the back filters versus canister filters. Again, it really is going to depend upon your needs and your desires. Do you have the money for a canister filter? Do you want that little bit of a cleaner look? Do you want that increased flow? Then maybe a canister filter is for you. If you're just starting out, maybe it's just going to be a lot easier to put a hang on the back filter on that tank. It's going to be easier to maintain. It's not going to cost as much, especially if you don't know how long you're going to be keeping the tank if you're just getting into the hobby. So those are just some pros and cons. I would love to hear your feedback as well. So in the comments section, if you've got a preference for one over the other, please share that. Share the advantages and disadvantages that you found when you use these types of filters, and we certainly look forward to that. So if you like this video, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.